Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Green here with nomorenews.org. It's November 7th, 2019, and we are streaming live. Thank you for joining me. Today, I would like to talk about some of the latest developments on the so-called Groyper Wars, which theoretically is America First nationalist patriots versus the Zionist conservative Inc. Traitors. And it seems like some of the battle lines are being drawn, and I'm noticing some MAGA grifters here that are trying to latch on to this movement. And I wanted to call out some of these censorship hypocrite, phony, and frauds, as well as get into some of the latest calls for censoring anti-Semitism on the internet. I'm also going to get into the a little bit of the Spencer leaked audio, the Richard Spencer leaked audio, and some of the latest news. So thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Let's get started here with Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars, now his new website, summit.news. He's covering these Nick Fuentes supporters are going to these TPUSA events, and they're asking some hard questions, some good questions, and I love watching this happen. They are making the Zionists sweat. They're asking them a lot about Israel, seems to be the main thing. So, and we even have Alex Jones had Nick Fuentes on, and I covered that in the video I did the other day, which is called Zionist Urge Twitter to Ban Nick Fuentes. So this is kind of a follow-up on that. Paul Joseph Watson chimed in too. Both Watson and Alex Jones were like, well, TPS USA isn't that bad, and we met Charlie Kirk, but they're kind of also calling him out a little bit. So here's Paul Joseph Watson, did an article about a video I'm going to show you in a second. Congressman Dan Crenshaw was asked about anti-free speech with BDS and criticism of Israel, and he spun it. So Paul Joseph Watson says, Dan Crenshaw suggested that criticism of Israel should not be protected under First Amendment during event last night. So 5,000 likes. I'm glad that PJW is at least covering this. Finally, I've been screaming about this kind of stuff for a while, and Alex Jones and InfoWars will call you a Nazi and an anti-Semite for talking about these things, just like all the people that we're supposedly calling out here. So Crenshaw responds back, the question wasn't about, quote, criticism, yes it was, but the BDS movement, i.e. economic warfare against Israel. The U.S. government can choose not to do business with BDS supporters. Trying to spin this as if I said you, quote, can't criticize Israel is deliberately misleading and journalistic malfeasance. And then Paul Joseph Watson retweeted back, the question was focused around the First Amendment and included the issue of Florida passing a law that outlawed criticism of Israel within the education system. Your immediate response was not to defend the sanctity of the First Amendment, but to call the questioner an anti-Semite. And we'll play that now.
Yes, sir.
My question is for Congressman Crenshaw. First of all, I want to thank you for your distinguished service to this country. Congressman, just this year, after a 2017 version of the law was blocked by a federal judge, Texas passed a law that still requires certain contractors to sign a pledge that they will not boycott Israel. The state of Florida has also passed a law outlawing the mere criticism of Israel. Representative Crenshaw, on May 9th of this year, similar legislation was even attempted at the federal level when the House Appropriations Committee sought to amend a routine government funding bill to allow federal agencies to compel contractors to promise not to boycott Israel as a requirement of maintaining their relationship with the U.S. government. Congressman, in spite of our unique and historic alliance, these laws are obvious, flagrant, and troubling violations of the First Amendment and free speech. Given that when you entered office, you swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, my question is this: will you honor your oath and denounce these laws here, now, and forever? Or do you agree with Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott that the First Amendment should only apply to Americans who support Israel?
Amazing question. Very well worded. Notice he didn't say this isn't all about supporting the BDS. He talked about several different First Amendment violations. And I've covered this so many times in the past about these laws. The idea that the government can decide to systematically only do contracts with pro-Israel companies is going to give them no big monopoly contracts, creating the winners and then deciding who the losers are. And it's going to be all pro-Israel, and then those companies can then pay the politicians, and we have a pro-Zionist circle, and that's how they're going to co-opt the whole country. The idea that American patriots can't decide to boycott a foreign country, they're going to pass laws. And remember, Marco Rubio, even when the government was shut down, the first bill in the Senate that they came out with was to not boycott Israel, not to get the government set up or anything America first. It shows who these people are owned by. So now here's his response.
You're advocating for the First Amendment, or at least you're cloaking yourself in the First Amendment.
I wouldn't presume my intentions.
So he says you're cloaking yourself using the First Amendment to be anti-Semitic. And then again, he says, don't presume where I'm coming from. So immediately he just says, oh, you're using the First Amendment to be anti-Semitic. That's his response. Not, I denounce these laws. Of course he backs them.
I wouldn't presume my intentions.
I will presume your intentions. I will. Because I know who you guys are.
I know who you guys are. This is a problem with being in a group I'm going to get into more later.
And here's the problem with the BDS movement. When you create a movement,
I'm not advocating for the BDS movement.
Divest and sanction.
Notice how, because it's a BDS movement, it's a group, they can dismiss anybody as, oh, you're BDS, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist sympathizer, or whatever the Zionists try to say. And then the questioner says, I'm not advocating BDS. Forget BDS. Just hypothetically, are these laws constitutional? And they're obviously not.
One Jewish state, just because they are the one Jewish state.
And then he says, you're picking on the one Jewish state just because they're Jewish. Who says that this is just because they're Jewish? That's his interpretation. And even if they are, Americans have the right to boycott and vote with their dollars, the First Amendment, whatever they want to do.
There's a deep problem with that. That is anti-Semitism manifest.
It's your right.
That is anti-Semitism. They just love the authority of that word, their trick that they always like to use.
Right as an American.
Right as an American. Okay, so there's the question, and as you can see, I'm siding with Paul Joseph Watson on this one. His immediate response was to not defend the First Amendment, but to call the questioner an anti-Semite, as if it's not a legitimate question to ask, hey, what's up with these laws that we can't boycott, that we can't criticize? It's awful. So great job asking these questions. And then now I want to move into some of these call out the first fraud. So Mike Cernovich, who I've covered in the past quite a bit, top Ziocon grifter, he's trying to kind of act like, oh, I'm standing up for their for the Groypers. I don't want them to be censored. He says, purple-haired freaks show up and everyone wants to debate, but young men show up and respectfully ask, in my view, offensive questions. He thinks it's offensive to ask about USS Liberty. He thinks it's offensive to ask about these anti-free speech BDS laws and you can't criticize laws. He thinks that's offensive just to ask stuff that every patriot should be our obligation to be screaming about these issues. Of course, he sucks up though. And then he goes, and everyone wants censorship now, not Cerno, not me. Everybody wants censorship, but not me. And then people are like, thank you, Mike. Cerno always, people giving him credit like he's got some type of integrity or consistency here. He's a total fraud that loves censorship for people that criticize Israel. And the other thing I hate that these guys do is they always refer to themselves in third person, not Cerno with their little nicknames like they think they're So cool. So here Cernovich says, not Cerno, I don't want censorship for these groypers. But you guys remember this was news this week out of Electronic Intifada. While closing down accounts of Palestinian media that expose Israeli abuses, Twitter allows Israel's IDF to freely celebrate and promote its war crimes against Palestinians. So Palestinian groups are being censored. Not fair. And then here's Mike celebrating the anti-Zionist being censored. He says, anti-Israel is far left. Not true. They always try to blame people who are anti-Israel as either you're far left or you're an alt-right Nazi. No, people with common sense, reasonable people have legitimate reasons to be anti-Zionist and anti-Israel. So he says, anti-Israel is far left. The same Antifa goons who tried to censor me using violence are pro-Palestine. I thus can't express how so happy this makes me. Enjoy your censorship. So here he is. He doesn't stand up for the First Amendment. He wants, and the way he spins it, that they're leftists or that people that are anti-Israel are Antifa, is so stupid. You can see my post here. Disgusting take, Mike. Antifa is anti-Israel, huh? Antifa means solidarity with Israel. There's one sign. Antifa means solidarity with Israel. So suck on that, Mike. And he loves it. He also says they try to censor him as if, while he enjoys the censorship of pro-Palestinians, he is right in line with ADL leader Jonathan Greenblatt. Here he is. Thank you, Twitter, for suspending the accounts of Hamas and Hezbollah, U.S. designated foreign terrorist organizations. Of course, when our government is Zog controlled, they're going to label all of their enemies terrorists, just like in countries that are anti-Zionist, they label the Zionist terrorists. So we got to stand up for free speech and let these people on. Unless they're literally calling for, outright violence or breaking laws and stuff. But here's Greenblatt, and I say Greenblatt's ADL is a foreign terrorist organization and a hate group. They should be banned not just from Twitter, but from America. So Cernovich is right in line with Jonathan Greenblatt trying to censor. Okay, not there yet. And then let's move on here some more. So these people, don't be fooled by guys like Cernovich that are trying to, we should be calling guys like this out. Cernovich, Posobiec, Milo, and Coulter. These people are not our allies. We're not going to win with people like this. Cernovich says, okay, here's the purple-haired freaks. Happy that they got censored. Here he is again. Although this is an unconstitutional restriction on free speech, SJWs hate Israel. See, again, anybody that's against Israel is a Antifa SJW to these liars. And it'll be nice to get them expelled and censored like they do us. Again, calling for censorship of critics of Israel. Here he is, Mike Cernovich. I encourage Yair Netanyahu's son, to ask Facebook, why does Facebook support terrorism against Israel? Why does Facebook and everybody support Israel's terrorism against Gaza and Palestine? It's time for every country to open an anti-terrorism investigation into Facebook for allowing Hamas and Hezbollah to roam freely while censoring Zionists like Laura Loomer. So take down Alex Jones, take down Laura Loomer, and then that gives them the excuse to go after anybody that's anti-Israel, and that's where it'll all end up. That's what's happening. He says, and this guy is not our friend. This is not an ally. We should be calling him out just as much, if not more, than Charlie Kirk and some of these other Zionist traitor sellouts. Here's Cernovich's take. If your response to any conversation about foreign influence is, quote, what about Israel? Yes, you're an anti-Semite. So when we're talking about foreign influence, if you mention Israel, you're an anti-Semite. Just like he said in one of his videos recently, he's trying to take credit for saying that he got Epstein arrested. Really, he's basically covering up for his buddy Dershowitz and his connections to Epstein. And he says that it's vaguely anti-Semitic if you say that Epstein is connected to Mossad. He says, don't do that. Don't say that. That's anti-Semitic to say that Epstein's connected to Mossad. And I did a video a year ago showing Mike Cernovich as a Zionist propagandist, and he didn't even deny it. how do I have repeats here? Here he goes. Both sides of the Ilhan Omar AIPAC debate. This is exactly it. Criticize Israel, but if you're obsessed, saying somebody's obsessed is not an argument. It's just a way to to evade the actual debate. Criticize Israel, but if you're obsessed, seem like something else is going on. So if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic again. That's what these people say over and over again. And now this traitor that's subverting America for a foreign power is trying to spin it with Kabbalah, sorcery, wizardry, saying that anybody who doesn't stand up for Israel and all this stuff, you're anti-American. He says, is there anyone who is anti-Israel who is also pro-American? Yeah, everybody that's actually pro-American is anti-Israel. I was very critical of Israel for years, sure, but started noticing patterns. So this is just like a persuasion technique, like, oh, I used to be with you guys, but I researched it more and I found out the truth and I was wrong and you're wrong too. Who loves America while also hating Israel? Yeah, me and every other real patriot out there. Here's another take from Cernovich. Why should I care? I'll be honest, I just legit don't care if Israel took their land. Yeah, I bet you'd care if all the Arab countries around Israel decided to push them in the sea like you guys are always crying about. Then you would care. See, the Russian Jews or the Soviet Jews that immigrated into Palestine, that was the original refugee crisis. That was the original mass immigration. Palestine needed some more nationalism back then, but of course they had Britain and America on the Zionist side. And then look at this high-level shilling. I schedule my major public events to accommodate Shabbat. If you knew what that means, you'd realize how foolish you look right now. So we know who he caters to. He literally shills for Chabad. Has anyone read this? Killer book cover. I would pick up if saw it at bookstore. Chabad.org book with the eye symbolism on the front. And I made a video exposing him as a Zionist. And I said, did you watch my videos exposing you? And he says, what's to expose? I'm an admitted Zionist propagandist. And then I guess he watched the video and then he took the tweet down because it wasn't looking good for him. Okay, the next MAGA grifter that we need to be calling out. And it's so many of these people that like Nick Fuentes is friends with and in the same circles are guys like this. I saw Fuentes retweeting Cernovich. And I don't know, they're at least, I don't know about him and Posobiec, but they're in the same circles. Here's Posobiec and Cernovich together. And look at some of this stuff. So remember, ZOA is who ZOA is the group, Zionist Organization of America, is who wanted to remove Nick from all social media. They called for him to be banned from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. Zionist organization, a foreign lobby trying to get critics of their country, a foreign power, shut down. ZOA. And then now we have, Jack Posobiec, incredible lineup. Never miss a ZOA dinner. Here he is with Sean Spicer and Bannon. ZOA dinner. This is the enemy here. I don't see the Groypers need to be calling out Cernovich and Posobiec, not cozying up to the same circles and networks. Posobiec says, I'm a huge supporter of ZOA National and have been since 2006. That's why I tweet about it, in fact. Then he says, I'm proud of my support for ZOA. So he's retweeting me here. I say, Zionist agent Jack won't even deny it. He loves AIPAC, ZOA, Adelson, and Zionism. And he says, I'm proud of my support for ZOA National since 2006 and very open about it, actually. And here he is from the great Mort Klein, the president of ZOA. He's sharing ZOA, and he retweets ZOA, and ZOA retweets him, and his buddy Arthur Schwartz works for ZOA and all the Genie Energy connected people, and Trump Jr. is all tied in with these people as well. Look at this shit. This, God bless Israel. Like, he's just saying, give me more shekels. I'm a traitor. Poso's statement. So This is one of the attacks they did on me. I did a video exposing Jack, and of course he says, the smelly anti-Semitic scumbags attacking me as a, quote, Zionist agent are as disgusting as their racism. So he says I'm a proud Zionist, and I call him a Zionist, and that makes me a disgusting racist for calling a spade a spade. The Jewish people have a right to exist, and I stand with them. Did I say that Jewish people don't have a right to exist? This is a straw man hyperbole argument. I have proudly supported ZOA National for over a decade and will continue to do so. And another free speech hypocrite. Here's Jack Posobiec retweeting this Jewish Cyber Defense Center on Twitter, an account set up to shut down quote-unquote anti-Semitic accounts. And he was one of the first. They had 4 followers. He was one of the first ones, and they were only following 2 people. They were following him. So he wants critics. He's not for free speech. He's another hypocrite. He wants critics of Israel and Zionism shut down. And then he says, this account shared, we know Posobiec as a friend and ally in fighting anti-Semitism and subverting America and free speech. We reached out to him and he supported our operation. Prominent Jew hater, no more news, just got on our operations radar. Not very smart, Adam. So we have foreigners threatening me for standing up for America first and calling out subversive traitors. Just like ZOA follows me on Twitter too. And Adam Milstein, Canary Mission founder. Posobiec, all you Groypers, all you 4chan Fuentes fans, this is what he thinks about you. No, I had nothing to do with Q after it left 4chan. It was a different crew behind the scenes. That's when 8chan crew took it over and started adding all the anti-Semitic stuff. Any criticism at all is anti-Semitism. And these are all bills that are literally Shillman fellows. Laura Loomer and Tommy Robinson and Jack Posobiec, all connected to InfoWars, all worked for Ezra Levant, Zionist company, Rebel Media. It's funded by Robert Mercer, top Zionist billionaire, Robert Shillman, Shapiro. You know, we're always calling out Shapiro all the time, right? He was a Shillman fellow as well, just like Posobiec and all these. Laura Loomer, who Nick Fuentes says he's friends with. Shillman, Rosenwald. This is from John Swin, formerly The World Needs This Man. Now he's exposed the enemy as the website. And here's Ben Shapiro, the Horowitz Freedom Center, connected under Ferris Wilks, who's known as the Koch brothers of the Christian right. You see here, Ben Shapiro is also a Shillman Senior Fellow as well, just like Loomer and Posobiec. And these shills, anti-American shills. Now, just to see peak MAGA grifter level, peak grifter. This guy Posobiec Indiegogo raises $60,000 to make a comic book of himself. Like this is pathetic cringe, max cringe. And look at this. It's got $60,000 from 442 backers. So 60620 divided by, what was it, 442 equals, he had 442 people pay an average of $137 to buy his comic book. This is what people are wasting their money on. It's pretty pathetic. And then, let's see. Now let's move on to another fraud that we need to call out here. Jacob Wohl, conservative, Trump supporter, Zionist, political and corporate intel consultant. This was before he was kicked off of Twitter for multiple violations of the terms of service. So this is why I'm bringing him up, why he's applicable here. This article that came out of the Daily Dot says, Charlie Kirk has finally had it with these white nationalists in his movement. Well, I would like to make a correction on this headline, and I would say that America First nationalist patriots have finally had it with these Zionist sellout traitors in the America First movement. So that's why I would redo it. And then we're going to do a Control F. I'll put the link in this too if you guys aren't up to speed. There's a lot of good keeping track of all the drama that's been unfolding. But this is what I want to show you here. Very odd. We have one of Fuentes' few allies, right-wing internet troll Jacob Wohl, came to Fuentes' defense on Telegram against Gorka, saying, quote, "Remember when Sebastian Gorka disgraced the Trump administration by wearing the pin of a Hungarian neo-Nazi organization to the inauguration?" Wohl continued, "I answered questions from dozens of quote, groypers in Miami and didn't melt down like a little beach. Like a little bee." So I saw, right after I made my video about Fuentes the other day, I saw him do a video and he said, "I'm friends with Jacob Wohl. He's an honest guy. I'm friends with Laura Loomer. So I'm not racist. I'm friends with these Zionists." It is very disturbing to me that Fuentes thinks is advertising Jacob Wohl as an honest guy. Meanwhile, Fuentes has had me blocked for like a year now over essentially nothing. He has this thing where he just blocks everybody, I suppose. Or so I've heard. So he's allied. This America First nationalist anti-Zionist is friends with Jacob Wohl but has me blocked. I find that a little odd. And Jacob Wohl is not our ally. He is one of the worst of the worst. If you guys remember, one, he's a Zionist. Long live Zionism. This is what he's about. "I'm a single issue voter, Israel. If a politician gets that wrong, they're dead to me." This is what we're against. This is the epitome of what we're against. Anti-BDS, awesome. Anti-BDS bill allowing state and local government to penalize companies who boycott Israel. Advanced by Senate, 74-19 vote. So groypers are asking about BDS, but Jacob Wohl is against BDS and wants our free speech shut down in America to criticize his where his loyalty is. But Nick, that's Nick's ally though. I don't see, you guys see something wrong with that? Makes me wonder. Jacob Wohl, "The truth is that any American Jew who doesn't care as much about a Jewish state as he or she does about the United States can't be very identified with the Jewish people. Real Jews are Zionist." And that's sharing an article from the Forward saying why American Jews shouldn't be afraid to put Israel first. And look at this quote. "The truth is that any American Jew who doesn't care as much about a Jewish state as they do about the United States." So as much, you have to care as much. So at a minimum, 50-50 Israel and America. That's not going to cut it. And I would call out Jacob Wohl. You want to debate me on my channel? That was back in January. And then a few short weeks later, him and all of his MAGA frauds, all his Zionist friends like Mindy Robinson and some others, they did this lie that I'm the Comet Pizza arsonist, and then they spread that around and were tagging the FBI and the ATF and getting all of their fake sock puppet accounts to share it. And then when all of my supporters came to my aid and started calling them out, they tried to get me censored, and they did get me kicked off of Twitter. Here's Jacob Wohl retweeting this lie that I'm the Comet Pizza arsonist. Stupid. He says, "That guy Adam Green is a complete nutcase. He accused me, Alex Jones, and others of being part of some kind of Jewish cabal." You say that you're a Zionist on your everywhere, and I'm just saying you're a Zionist and you're not America First. So this is Nick Fuentes' ally, another free speech hypocrite that wants to shut down critics of Israel. Here's Jacob Wohl. "Attention Patriots." Laughable, I know. Patriots. What it means to be a patriot nowadays is you shut down critics of a foreign country that's subverting and taking over America. "Attention Patriots, an anti-Semitic alt-right lunatic named Adam Green is ruthlessly attacking and mobilizing neo-Nazis against me, I Heart Mindy, Gabe Hoffman, Laura Loomer, and Cernovich, and other great people." Yeah, great people, sure. So again, I'm not alt-right. I'm not a neo-Nazi. They lied about me. People called them out. And then he says, "Please take a moment and report him immediately." So that's Nick Fuentes' friend and his ally, according to Daily Dot. Here's another one. "Adam Green's vile hatred and extremist anti-Semitic conspiracy theories should be universally censored by conservatives." Again, this is no different than ZOA or Sebastian Gorka calling for Fuentes to be kicked off. I stand up for Fuentes. Does he stand up for me with his buddy Jacob Wohl? No, he calls him an honest guy on his stream. And when I responded to this lie that they were spreading, I said, hey, that's not me, take it down. He says, long live Zionism. Nice guy. And then he celebrates, nothing is quite as much fun as taking down BDSers. That's when I got my Twitter suspended, because he called on all of his followers to censor me. And there he is. So Cernovich, Posobiec, also with Jacob Wohl, these whole networks that Nick seems to be awful close with. And here, go back to here. So, all right, let's go to, let's talk about the Milo thing a little bit. So weird with the Milo release. One, because Milo is another one of these Zionists. The timing is odd. The motive is odd. It's weird how Milo released a video and it had Fuentes kind of saying that he disagrees. It had Spencer talking about how he disagrees with Fuentes, and then he shows this horrible stuff that Spencer said. Here's a look.
Again, if I have to. Like this.
2.7 million views.
We're coming back here like a fucking 100 times. I am so mad. I am so fucking mad at these people. They don't do this to fucking me.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
We're gonna fucking ritualistically.
And justifiably, they do have a reason to be mad. Charlottesville, they walked into a trap. The police stood down and led Antifa to attack them, even though they were just expressing their First Amendment rights.
Humiliate them! I am coming back here every fucking weekend if I have to. Like, this is never over. No. I win, they fucking lose.
Like a little spoiled child. I win, they lose. Entitled.
That's how the world fucking works. Little fucking kite.
And yeah, the racial epithets, but that's not even what the worst part. I think the worst part is how narcissistic and he just comes off like a snob here in a second.
They get ruled by people like me. Little fucking octoroons.
They get ruled by people like me, little octoroons, which is such a funny word. Has anybody ever heard the term octoroons before? I had to look it up, and it means you're 1/8 black, which is such a weird thing to have a term for.
My ancestors fucking enslaved those pieces of fucking shit.
I mean, this is why, you can't ever argue that he's not a supremacist now, because clearly he's a supremacist, saying that's the way the world works. I rule over you. I always win.
We're gonna win. I rule the fucking world.
That's the funniest part. This is the most telling part out of this whole leak. I rule the effing world. This isn't about the movement. This isn't about trying to make the world a better place. This is about him. He's a entitled elitist snob saying, I rule the effing world.
We're gonna win. I rule the fucking world. Those pieces of shit get ruled by people like me. They look up and see a face like mine looking down at them.
It is just insane. I've never thought anything like this, and this is coming out of this guy's mouth. Disavow.
Looking down at them! That's how the fucking world works! We are gonna destroy this fucking town! We're coming back.
Okay, so what I want to say about this is, one, it's weird. Milo, given who he's a Zionist as well, all of the networks that he's affiliated with, Breitbart and stuff, it's like this leak comes out now so that they could use it to discredit what the Groypers are doing, the havoc that they're causing with TPUSA and Conservative Inc. So this is the danger of having like a movement in a group, in a name, Groypers and this kind of stuff, because one, they can attack the figurehead, the poster boy, they can lump everything together and then dismiss it all. Like you always hear, oh, you're alt-right, you're alt-right. So anybody that's on the right and that's not a Zionist is considered alt-right now, so it's all centralized and it can be dismissed easy. Also, TPUSA or anybody could just throw in some plants, say they're a Groyper, say they love Nick Fuentes, and go and do something horrible, say something that's just terrible optics that ruins the whole thing. So I think that people need to keep that in mind, that this needs to be like no leadership, no figurehead, and kind of just more of a loose thing, so they can't trust me. I've experienced this before with a group and how it doesn't work and how it definitely has the downfalls. So be weary of that. And then I gotta say this: Jack Posobiec retweeted it in Spencer, and I said Navy intelligence officer Jack Posobiec, but not smart enough to send this one out because look here, we have here's a photo of Posobiec and me in Cleveland at a bar, shared by Richard Spencer, and it says, I'd never heard of Jack before. He introduced himself as a Roger Stone associate who just is lied to Congress. He's having a trial right now. Bannon's going to have to come and testify. And Bannon was working with Cambridge Analytica, who was working with to get, reviewing all the data, mass data collection, so they could put out targeted messages. And that was Posobiec was working with all that. Richard Spencer says, Jack praised me and other alt-right leaders for the work we did helping Trump. He presented himself as a supporter. I also heard Lee Stranahan say that this guy, Jeff Gleesy, also donated to Richard Spencer and donates to Turning Point USA as well, if I remember correctly. And then Spencer also says, my initial impression of Jack was positive. I began distrusting Jack after his, quote, rape Melania hoax and his brazen fake news mongering in 2017. So Spencer called Jack out right. And it's funny that Jack would even tweet anything about Spencer, knowing that this would come out, how he's connected to it. And here, just again to show Posobiec and how the Groypers need to be calling him, Cernovich, Jacob Wohl out and holding Fuentes accountable. If you're going to be America first, I don't see how you can also be friends with Jacob Wohl, who's anti-free speech, anti-American. Here's Jack. Congrats, Charlie Kirk. I did an advanced search. He's always talking with Charlie Kirk. They're on the same team. And remember, this is Jack Posobiec and Cernovich. All these guys got famous essentially on InfoWars. Alex Jones is not our friend either. I see Jake Lloyd, InfoWars reporter, is kind of affiliated with some of these people. And maybe he's secretly red-pilled and he's just doing the best he can given his situation. But he's had me blocked too. Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk, over and over again. All these things with Charlie Kirk. You get the point. Jacob Wohl. Okay, and speaking of Charlie Kirk, here's something else everybody needs to know, a big connection. CNP, the Council for National Policy. My friend Matthew North used to always talk about it. Council for National Policy was founded by the author, his name is LaHaye. CNP was founded in 1981 by Tim LaHaye, and he is the evangelical Protestant minister who wrote the books, the Left Behind series. So he's all about, he was also in a documentary about rebuilding the Third Temple, all about the return of Jesus, all about the rapture, the tribulation, and ushering the end times with the Third Temple. He's a hardcore Christian Zionist, founded the CNP, Council for National Policy. And here we have CNP Action, which is the sister organization for the CNP. And who do we have here? Charlie Kirk says CNP Action congregates the top political minds of the right to discuss today's pressing issues and create strategic plans to influence public policy to be more Zionist. Their work is imperative to strengthening the movement and spreading conservative values. Charlie Kirk, CNP. Okay, another one that, let me make sure we got, another one that we got to call out here, who people are being duped by, another fraud where we need to draw, the battle lines are being drawn, and we need to make sure that these people aren't playing both sides of the fence or being, Judas goats leading us to the slaughter, controlled oppositions. We have Ann Coulter, who has been retweeting some of this Groyper stuff with Fuentes and kind of giving to support. But she is not our girl, even if she's for good immigration policy. Ann Coulter says, forget the internet. Here, she's retweeting Breitbart, an article that says, World Jewish Congress President Ronald Lauder from Estee Lauder, top Zionist, wants stricter laws against online anti-Semitism. So she retweets this, and what does she say? forget the internet. Forget the censorship on the internet. Who cares about all the censorship of the anti-Semitism? I want stricter laws against the spread of anti-Semitism in our country. So she wants more laws. She's not with the Groyper side. She wants Groyper censored, but she says through immigration. So I guess she wants less Muslims because Muslims are anti-Semitic. That's her logic. But still, she says, forget the internet. I want stricter laws against the spread of anti-Semitism. She is not our girl here. And then this article from Breitbart, they're applauding it. They're not saying this is a violation of the First Amendment and we don't need more online censorship. They all praise and lobby and applaud for more on censorship of quote-unquote anti-Semitism. So let's play a little bit of this lauder. I went through the highlights here.
Special envoys and coordinators combating anti-Semitism. Perhaps you are the most...
So Lauder, a little background, he's the president of the World Jewish Congress. He's a billionaire from Estee Lauder, the makeup company. He is a big Trump supporter, and also he was at the Port Authority. He was instrumental in privatizing the World Trade Center to the other top Zionists, Larry Silverstein and Frank Lowy of Westfield Malls. He got it to them just a few weeks before 9/11 happened. This man, just what are the odds that the president of World Jewish Congress was the guy that got the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, privatized to Larry Silverstein 6 weeks before the attack? Imagine the odds.
Most important people facing the Jewish, helping the Jewish people fight anti-Semitism. And I thank you for that. Fight against anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism and the fight against anti-Semitism. The U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has now reared its head. Anti-Semitism.
So you can see that was just the intro. So now we're going to get to the highlights where he's calling for laws and a total crackdown to shut it down.
This was before the internet. What we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, more like 5 years, is that for the first time, people can be anti-Semitic and have no consequences.
People, no consequences. So they say anti-Zionism or any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic, and he wants to have consequences for it. Consequences, laws, punishments, jail.
What we've seen more and more,
it's going to be illegal to not worship them if they have their way, literally with Noahides, the Noahide law agenda.
Here in Germany, but also all around the world, is that there's no laws. How do you allow this to happen? He said there's no law against it. There must be laws in Germany and Europe, really strong laws.
Really strong laws in Germany, Europe, and the United States. I've been saying this. They want to make anti-Semitism illegal everywhere. Just like it's illegal to question World War II all over Europe. You'll lose your job in America. You're a principal. No matter what. Even a black principal doesn't matter. Total shutdown. And just like we're not very far off for where you can't question World War II. You can't question 9/11. You have conspiracy theories about 9/11. They're going to make that illegal too. They essentially already have on Facebook.
We want action, not words. We want laws that really mean something. And one thing about Germany, you specialize in laws.
How about we make some laws that you can't be anti-white or anti-Gentile or anti-Christian? It would only be fair, right? Or how about we just have laws, I'm saying that sarcastically, we just need laws that apply evenly for everybody. Not one group gets preferential special treatment.
And the fact is that this judge told me there was no law against neo-Nazi parties. They can have all the ideology they want.
Oh, how dare we let people have the ideology they want? I mean, if this isn't thought crimes and Orwellian, they can have any ideology they want. And then so he calls them neo-Nazis, and then he goes on to admit they're essentially not neo-Nazis. We just say they are.
Neo-Nazi parties. We have pictures of them. We have pictures of them speaking. Yes, they do not have swastikas, and they don't necessarily have pictures of Hitler. But everything else is a Nazi ideology.
So any criticism of Israel or Jewish power, and you're instantly a Nazi, and he wants to have laws against it. I mean, it's obvious what these people are doing here. They're not wizards. They're not that smart. I just saw, I'm going to do a video soon. I don't have the book, but what's his name? Martin Luther. The book Martin Luther did. He says that, like, if you all you have to do is pay attention a little bit, and their lies don't work. They're actually awful liars.
And the interesting thing is, if you don't have a swastika and you don't lift your arm up in a salute, you're not breaking any law. How many people there are what you would call neo-Nazis? The leaders and other people. Got the names. Frightening, because they're there, they're in the public view, and Germany does nothing, because they can't do anything. There's no laws there. What does it say about Germany that you can have Nazi ideology and get away with it? And frankly, I think if you gave a good...
How can you be a Zionist in America and get away with it? How can you be a Zionist supremacist in America and get away with it? How can you be a Bolshevik, a communist Marxist, and get away with it?
Assessment of the police, at least a third of them, are basically anti-Semitic. Where do you get the information? It didn't come from the air. It came over the internet. And the internet was someone, he was a guy alone. He was a person who, frankly, probably sat home and looked at the internet and got angry. There's no ability to stop this stuff coming.
You see, if somebody does research and gets angry, you don't blame the person, because people can be angry for legitimate reasons. Maybe actually have a debate on what he's angry about and if it's justified. It's just like they always have start the debate with the false assumption that they could never do anything wrong, and the presupposition that it's the other people are already the evil ones.
There is, but no one takes it on. We can find out where every piece on the internet comes from if we want to.
We can find out where every piece on the internet comes from if we want to. And I've showed in the past, YouTube announced on one of their blogs that we know that we share this information with NGOs and research groups to track the anti-Semitism. So they're tracking it all. Not to mention the Al Jazeera documentary where they have the top Israeli software in the market working closely with the Mossad and Israeli intelligence to track all of this stuff. And then also the Mike Evans, the Friends of Zion Museum leader, he said in a speech to Netanyahu, he said that they profile every single anti-Semitic comment on the internet. They have it all cataloged and profiled and everything. And
no one's
calling
doing
for it also. All right. Now, just a little bit of review of where this is headed and how bad it already is. Florida passes anti-Semitism bill for public schools. Governor Ron DeSantis it passed unanimously, and it says, using the State Department definition, I'll show you in a second, as its template, to call advancing conspiracy theories about Jewish control. So any discussion of Jewish control of anything, it's a conspiracy and it's banned. It also says Ron DeSantis will travel to Israel next month for a week-long visit that will include a Florida cabinet meeting at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Ron DeSantis flew with Sheldon Adelson, Trump's top Zionist campaign contributor, flew to Jerusalem to have a cabinet meeting where he signed a law that people in Florida can't criticize a foreign country or even talk about their control in our country. I mean, this is incredibly dangerous. This is just the first state. It's gonna spread all around too. Thank God these Groypers, that question I started with in the beginning, brought this up. It's so important because almost nobody's covering it. And just like Elon Carr, who we're going to next, he's also funded by Sheldon Adelson, gave him $100,000 for his 2016 campaign. Listen to what he has to say about anti-Semitism. He's the anti-Semitism czar that's going to stop anti-Semitism around the world.
The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism gives as a specific example the application of double standards to the State of Israel. And so if Israel is criticized in a way that no other country in a similar circumstance is criticized, yes, that is anti-Semitism.
So as long as the what about them argument, as long as any other country is doing bad, Israel can get away with murder and you can't hold them accountable for anything. But the reason that I played that is because he says, as defined by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, these are the people that are deciding at state.gov, like accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel, their alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interest of their own nations. Literally, we just saw World Jewish Congress, Lauder, and then just a few weeks ago on Yahoo, there was the article about Our Common Destiny, the Rothschilds and Barbara Specter. They're all going to Israel to talk about their common destiny, but there's no loyalty to Israel. That's anti-Semitic trope to say that. But International Holocaust Remembrance, that's who's making these definitions, and verbatim, it's on state.gov and in bills and stuff. And this is what they say. This is what they're trying to push. Targeting the state of Israel. So any criticism at all, saying that they're conspiring to harm humanity. They never conspire. They never do anything wrong. You can never blame them for when things go wrong. They never do anything wrong, right, guys? And then it says stereotypes and negative character traits. So you say like, that's greedy or anything like that. They go, that's a trope. They've been saying that for thousands of years. That's a stereotype. That just lends weight to the accusation that it's true. If you say, that's not true, people have been saying that about us forever. I mean, it's stupid, but they're trying to pull it off. Oops. And some of these terms now, we have stereotypical allegations about Jews, such as power of Jews as the collective. Sure, the ADL that works with Israel doesn't have a hate speech lab in Silicon Valley that's working with all the social media monopolies to shut down any criticism, such as the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy. If you followed my channel, their whole religion is a conspiracy, and even the secular ones, secular messianism for this world communist revolution utopia. There is definitely a conspiracy, and it's not a secret, and it's not a myth. It's open and in our faces. They just shut down anybody that talks about it. Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. So just straight up there, they're literally buying off our politicians openly with ZOA, APEC, Adelson, Lauder, Bernard Marcus, all of these Zionist firsters openly buying our politicians, controlling media, controlling politics, controlling banking, controlling pornography. And if we talk about it, we show the statistics, we show the names, we show the facts, they say it's a conspiracy and it's anti-Semitic to talk about them controlling anything. Claiming that Israel is racist, that it's a racist endeavor. So as they call anybody that calls out their Zionist Jewish supremacy a racist, they're literally passing laws that we can't call them racist. And we can't they call everybody that's against them a Nazi, and then it's illegal for us to call them Nazis, even though they may behave like Nazis. Who is to say that we can't say, this reminds me of this? That's a thought crime. That's anti-Semitism. You can't do that. Talking about the factual historical events, agreement of the Havara transfer agreement, where the Zionists work with to send like 70 or 80,000 Jews to Palestine. There might not be an Israel if it wasn't for this. That, not allowed to say it. It's anti-Semitic. Using symbols and images associated with classical anti-Semitism. Claims of Jews killing Jesus are blood libel. There's no blood sacrifices or animal sacrifices like they just had recently near the Temple Mount, or human sacrifice, or circumcision, or putting the blood on the door for the Passover. There's no blood rituals. That's all a conspiracy. And even though they brag and take credit in the Talmud and hate Jesus and say that they killed him, you're not allowed to say that either. Images, you can't use Star of David's or anything to depict, to represent, to describe what they are. They'll shut it down arbitrarily whenever they want. And then accusing them of being more loyal to Israel or the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than interest of their own nations. Literally, as they're openly doing this everywhere, and you can prove it, Trump knows it. Trump even says, like, Remember, he said, "Oh, the Democrats, they're not loyal. They're not good Jews. They're not loyal to Israel. They're not voting for me," because everybody that surrounds Trump is Zionist first. He calls American Jews, Netanyahu, your prime minister, and he gets in trouble with it with the liberal Jews. But anyway, we will let Jewish chair at Wake Forest, Barry Trachtenberg, refute this ridiculous definition of anti-Semitism here about their loyalty.
About the State Department definition, which seeks to codify what anti-Semitism is, the State Department definition claims that stating that a particular Jewish person has more loyalty to the state of Israel than they do to their own country is necessarily an example of anti-Semitism. Where the truth is that that's one of the fundamental premises of Zionism. And if you go back and look at the statements, say, of Theodor Herzl, who's wrote really what's considered the founding text of Zionism, he argued very clearly that Jews are one people, and therefore it's useless for them to be patriots to the countries in which they reside.
Jews are one people, and therefore it's useless for them to be patriots to the countries in which they reside.
So there's times when a statement like that is contained in the definition of the State Department would actually undermine the founding premises of Zionism itself.
So the founder of modern Zionism, Theodor Herzl.
That's one of the fundamental premises of Zionism.
It's fundamental premise of Zionism to be Israel first and to have loyalty to Israel. And they're trying to make it illegal, even though it's like common fact. And I've done several videos on those. Some of this is a repeat, but it's just so important because what's going on right now, that people know this stuff. Trump got in 1983, he won the JNF, the Jewish National Fund, was started by Theodor Herzl at Basel, Switzerland, the first World Zionist Congress. Trump got the award, the Jewish National Fund Tree of Life Kabbalah Award. Trump, Zionist since 1983, and his father...
Really what's considered the founding text of Zionism, he argued very clearly that Jews are one people, and therefore it's useless for them to be patriots to the countries in which they reside.
Useless for them to be patriots in the countries they reside. This is what we're up against. And then now we have these terms, these definitions of anti-Semitism are being made into law, and they're trying to bring them here too. Became law 2017, the Combating European Anti-Semitism Act of 2017, and you can see it's the exact same stuff, accusing where are we looking at? Being more loyal to Israel. There's one of them. And this is what they're trying to enforce all over the world, not just in the United States. We're the police. And then, now we have, just to show that they want to make it illegal worldwide to criticize them, here is the Israeli ambassador at the United Nations also calling for anti-Semitism to be illegal. Punishments, consequences is what they want.
The time for talking and having a conversation is over. What Israel and the Jewish community around the world demands is action. And now. It is simple. Those who engage in anti-Semitism must be punished.
Everything's anti-Semitism, and those who engage in it must be punished.
Whether it's here at the UN, political leaders, editors, policy pundits, or college professors, it doesn't matter. Anti-Semitism should have no place in our society until it becomes criminal.
Doesn't matter if you're a journalist, a reporter, a professor, a politician, a normal person on the internet, it must be punished. Anti-Semitism.
Society until it becomes criminal.
Until it becomes criminal. Criminal to speak out against them. You see, I think the criminals are the ones that are in our country subverting like a parasite for a foreign power and trying to inhibit us and immunize themselves from any criticism at all, and then have their little shill henchmen foot soldiers like Posobiec and Wall and Mike Cernovich say, you're not American if you don't worship Israel. Anybody that's anti-Israel is anti-American. No. Line in the sand, battle lines drawn.
This bigotry will persist, it will fester, and it is only a matter of time until it erupts again in violence and bloodshed. It is unacceptable that worshippers should look back while they are praying.
Okay.
was a great honor to be sworn in this morning by the Secretary, and an even greater honor to work on this issue as part of an administration committed in unprecedented fashion to the fight against anti-Semitism, to the protection of the Jewish people throughout the world, and to the support for the Jewish state.
Okay, unprecedented attack on anti-Semitism, support for Israel, and policing anti-Semitism throughout the world. Is it our job, our tax dollars, our federal officials' job to police anti-Semitism throughout the world? It's so obvious who these people are working for.
We are going to focus relentlessly on eradicating this false distinction between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. The Secretary could not have been clearer. He stood before 18,000 activists at the AIPAC Policy Conference just 2 weeks ago, and he declared, I quote, "Let me go on the record, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism."
So friends, let me go on record. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Nobody can criticize us. Shut them down. This smeg face.
The Trump administration opposes it unequivocally, and we will fight for it relentlessly.
Unequivocally, relentlessly. Our credo, this will be our credo there, our calling, that's what he said. This the idea, when you say anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism and anti-Semitism needs to be illegal, you're saying no criticism allowed at all. And to be anti-Zionist means anti-being enslaved in their end times prophecy. It means you're anti their true Messiah, the Moshiach. It means you're anti-temple. It means you're anti all the prophecies in Isaiah, them being a light into the nations and ruling the world and subordinating the Gentiles, feeding off the riches of the Gentiles, like Isaiah says. And this is just the narrative they've been pushing so hard. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Over and over again. Keep repeating it over and over again until it sticks.
Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. That will be our rallying cry as we go forward to fight this ancient scourge that sadly is on the rise today and must be combated. And we're very proud that this department and this administration is focused in unprecedented fashion on doing that. Thank you.
So remember when Trump's rallying cry was America first will be our credo. That was campaigning Trump. And then he goes, well, I'm a nationalist and I'm a globalist. And then now it's everything for Israel. And it should be America first and last. Not even a little bit for Israel. I'm sick of it. They're the biggest I'll just leave it there. Let's see what the comments are saying, and I think that's about it. That about wraps it up. And I'm not trying to be too hard on all this and be a downer. I love what the Groypers are doing. I really do. Oh yeah, look at this video, World Jewish Congress. They've got 4.3 thousand subs, and the video has 332 views with 48 thumbs down and 3 up. Let's, if you guys want to watch the whole thing, links below, and make sure to vote how you see fit. So, again, I don't know exactly what to make all of this. I'm hesitant. I'm worried. I see a lot of things that I like with this whole Groper war, but I also see some things that I'm not so sure about. But one thing is how it's like, they're against Charlie Kirk and they're against these BDS laws and all this violations of our free speech, but we're pro-Trump. How can you guys be pro-Trump and think Trump is with TPUSA? Trump is with Zionist Organization of America. He has already sold us down the river. There's no hope left with Trump anymore. He is not America first. He's not who he said he was. They use Cambridge Analytica and influential people like Alex Jones to lie and target people to get elected. And they, like a demagogue, they told us exactly what we wanted to hear. All right. Like, share, subscribe. NoMoreNews.org. BitChute. DLive. All the links are here. BitChute, DLive. And that's all for now. Thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about Fuentes being buddies with Jacob Wohl and not calling out these MAGA grifter Zionist phonies like Cernovich and Posobiec. And it's funny. I was gonna talk a little bit about it, but it's funny watching Owen Benjamin and Nick Fuentes kind of their feud, how that's transpiring as well. But that's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching. I got some awesome videos lined up. The one about Martin Luther and what he said in the Protestant Reformation. I've got one about some of their. We're gonna read some scripture, some Talmud and some Torah, some interesting stuff. And what else? A video about chosenness. Get into that. So stay tuned for all that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Also, I can't do this without you. You got to support independent media more than ever. Please support while I still have a PayPal and Patreon. If you want to see more videos, if you value videos like this and want to see more, I need your help. Every dollar helps. Every dollar helps. Every bit goes a long way. And that is all. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.